Now, the other side of the e-commerce coin is the industrial and logistics business, warehouses effectively, right? Another place where Brookfield is pretty big and pretty active. Has that played out?
E-commerce is having a tremendous impact on supply chains and how goods are brought from the manufacturer to the ultimate end consumer. Some of it means that rather than going through a shopping center, it's going direct to the customers. And when that happens, it changes the locations of the warehouses, where they need those warehouses located. It changes the specification of the warehouses, including ceiling heights, parking ratios, the number of people you need working in them. And so that really has been a tremendous boom for that sector. So while you would say that Amazon and the internet has had a negative impact potentially on retail real estate, it's had a tremendously positive impact on industrial and logistics warehouses here in the United States.
How much of what you see and what you're doing is Amazon, and how much of it is something else, either other companies that are following what Amazon is doing or something else entirely?
You know, they're the 800-pound gorilla in this space, and I think a lot of the activity is centered around them. But we're seeing it; it's very broad-based. You know, so retailers like Walmart and even the department stores are adapting their own online strategies, and it means they have the same challenges around having these logistics facilities in newer locations that are located close to population centers.
And if we think about demand for warehouse and logistical space on a curve, where the top of the curve, of course, is peak demand, where are we now? Are we still on our way to peak demand?
We're on our way up. I think we're seeing, we've obviously had a couple of really high growth years over the last couple of years, but we're not seeing it slow down. If anything, it's starting to accelerate as more and more retailers adjust their strategies and therefore change their supply chains.
And which markets is the demand most concentrated in? And where do you see it being most concentrated in as you look ahead?
Well, when we look at places like Memphis, like Cincinnati, which are not traditional, have not been traditional logistics hubs, because of their central location and their proximity to large population bases, you know, we're seeing a lot of demand in those places. Traditionally, logistics have been more focused on the coasts and particularly around the ports. Those continue to be very strong. But some of these more centrally located in the center of the country, close to major population bases, is where we're seeing a lot of that demand.
And what about pricing and valuation? Is it too sort of still on the way to the peak?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you know, we're seeing very strong rental growth this year, and a tremendous amount of interest from investors in the space, and that has led to lower cap rates and high prices. But I think it's justified by the growth that we're expecting to see.
And this could play out for how many? I mean, is it possible to even conceive of how many more years this sort of trend has to play out?
You know, it's always difficult to put a specific number of months and years on it, but we are, as I say, I think we're still very early on in this change, and it's a very large change in terms of how these businesses are operating, and I think we've got a number of years to go.